Hello, I'm Lauren Steinbacher, the Director of Strategic Workforce Initiatives at Next for Autism, and I would like to thank you for joining us for today's panel webinar titled College on the Autism Spectrum, Selecting the Right School for Employment Success. This, we felt, was a really important topic for so many families across the country, and we wanted to provide some firsthand perspectives and experience about this journey, trying to find a college and an autism program that works best for each family. So we invited some people to join us today, and I will be introducing them in one moment. But first, I would like to get started by doing some quick housekeeping. So today we will be able to you will hear us, but we will not be able to hear you. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them into the chat box that's on your screen. We will be monitoring the chat, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can at the very end of the session. But to test it all out, let's make sure the chat works. So I'm going to ask you all a question, and that question is, what would you like to learn today? And so if you could go ahead and plug it into the chat, we will be monitoring that, and then we will try to incorporate some of those questions into our training. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with our panelists. So I would like to first introduce Sara Gardner. Sara is, and my notes are all messed up, so I apologize.
Right, there we go.
Is the designer and director of Bellevue College's nationally recognized Neurodiversity Navigators program. This began in 2010. Sara also is the lead curriculum designer and adjunct faculty for the program's 7-course career preparation core series. Sara began working in the disability field in 2001 when a family member received an autism diagnosis. Sara's intense study led to the receiving of an autism diagnosis and a new career as an advocate, trainer, and a president of a 700-member group in Orange County, California. Sara holds a professional certification as a collaborative problem solver trainer from Think Kids, a program in the Department of Psychiatry at the Massachusetts General Hospital. So thank you, Sara, for joining us. Next up is Michelle Elkins from Western Kentucky University. Michelle is the director of Kelly Autism Program Circle of Support at Western Kentucky University. She holds a bachelor's degree in the Master's of Science and a Master's of Science degree from the Western Kentucky University in Communication Sciences and Disorders and a doctoral degree in organizational leadership with a concentration in higher education. She recently completed a certificate in secondary educational leadership. She holds a certificate of clinical competence from the American Speech Language Hearing Association and is licensed SLP in the state of Kentucky. She practiced as speech language pathologist for 21 years, focusing on the communication of individuals with a diagnosis of autism before becoming a director of KAP, and has served as an adjunct instructor and clinical supervisor in the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department, focusing on being a resource for all of those who will soon be entering the field. So thank you, Michelle. Next, our third panelist is Michele Metsch, who's a parent of a student or a potential student looking for a college. She received a BA from Tufts University in Child Development and Community Health and a psych degree in clinical psychology from Yeshiva University. Her professional clinical experience involved working with children, teens, and families in hospitals, clinics, and foster care agencies before becoming a full-time mom and community volunteer. Michelle currently serves as the Outreach DEI Chair for Mamaroneck Schools PTA Council and the Union Free School District's Equity Team. She's the incoming chair of the Union of Reform Judaism's 6-Point SciTech Academy Camps Advisory Board. Michelle is an active leader at Larchmont Temple, served on the COVID-19 task force, and provides supports to Larchmont Temple's nursery and religious schools. While Michelle is very busy in her community, her most important role is as the mother of 3 neurodiverse children and 1 golden retriever with her husband, Seth. So thank you, Michelle. And last but not least is Spenser Clark, who is an aspiring historian and hopeful librarian. Diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder back when it was Asperger's syndrome, he's struggled to communicate his thoughts and feelings for as long as he can remember. A determined family made sure he would not be left behind and immersed his younger self into reading, storytelling, collecting, and indulging and polishing his interests and encouraging him to be part of this amazing world that can sometimes leave people with autism out. It's worked out well for him. He's attended Western Kentucky University, where he earned 2 bachelor's degrees in history and religious studies with a minor in folk studies. He currently is a grad student working on his graduate degree in library science program at the University of Kentucky. So thank you and welcome, Spenser. And I would like to go ahead and get started. And what I would like to do is ask each of you to tell us a little bit, for the people representing colleges, tell us a little bit about your college program. And then for those of you representing your journey in this, talk about your journey, talk about your family, talk about your personal interests. So, and Spenser, you're now part of the group. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get you on. So we'll start with Sara. Sara, why don't you talk about Bellevue College and your autism program?
All right, the Neurodiversity Navigators program. I have a deck if you want me to share it, but I don't need to. So you tell me what you'd like me to do. I can just talk or I can share. Up to you, Lauren.
You can go ahead and are you able to share your screen?
That's a good question. Let me look. Sorry.
If you're able to, feel free.
I am able to.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me just pull it up really quick. I'm sorry. I should have asked that question a long time ago. I apologize. So Neurodiversity Navigators started in 2010 as a pilot program, and we have grown now. This is our 11th year. We have grown into a here we go. I'm about to show you. We have grown into a program that has close to 150 students. So here we go. All right. Our students all identify as neurodivergent or autistic, and they all need to assess into English 072 or above because we have an educational part to our program, and they all have to want to participate in all program components. And Michelle, please feel free to ask me the questions that you have because I can answer those within this. Okay, so you wanted to know how it's grown, and I believe that's on the next slide. Here it is. So we started with those 18 students. In fall this year, we had 72 incoming students. This is how our students are doing. They have experienced or they have earned a 3.0 GPA across all 3 quarters for the past 10 years. They've maintained that GPA. Something to know about college students in general is that their GPA dips from fall to winter to spring because spring is generally more difficult. They complete 85% of the classes they attempt, and they come back from fall to fall. And then I think you also wanted to know a little bit about how we deliver our program, like what it consists of. So let me jump to that. We have 4 focus areas, which are self-advocacy, executive functioning, social interaction, which I'll talk about in a minute when you ask me what's unique about our program, and self-regulation. And we deliver our program through these methods. We have cohort career preparation classes, peer mentoring, parent training and support, and faculty and staff training and support. And we're adding an inclusive hiring program. So now, what is your next question?
How do students qualify for your program?
Okay, so let's go back to this slide here. To qualify, they need to identify as neurodivergent or autistic. They do not need documentation of disability because we are under academic affairs. We're not under the Disability Resource Center. We're under the Career Center. And they do need to assess into English 072. So there's English 101, which is college level English, and then there's English 092 and English 072. So it's a pre-college level English. And then the most important is, I used to say agree to participate in all program components, but really they need to want to participate in all program components, because this is a program of self-exploration and growth in our program areas, and they need to want to do that. They need to want to be in college. This is not high school. It's not a place where they are required to be. College is a place where people go because they want to be there. And so their teachers are not there to make them do things. They must have that internal motivation.
Now, it doesn't say anything about a cost associated. So is there a cost associated with your program?
So let me tell you about that. The cost to the program is only associated with, oh, this is the really, really short version, is only associated with those courses that they take. So the cohort career preparation classes are a series of courses that they take each quarter as a cohort. They are academic courses, so they get academic credit for those courses, and they stack with their degrees in most cases. So if they're taking a very specialized degree, like a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science degree, they will not stack with that degree. So the student would likely be at the college for an additional quarter in order to take all these classes and take their degree. So they have to decide, like, is that worth it to them? But in most cases, they will stack with most degrees, so that they just pay tuition that they would have paid anyway. So for those students, there's essentially no cost to the program, but there's no extra cost for services or anything like that.
So because of this, how is the program funded if there's no cost to the students?
Good question. Those cohort career preparation classes are self-support classes. So the tuition that students pay for those classes does come to our program. We pay our faculty with it. We pay a little bit of our peer mentoring with it. But then the rest of our program is state supported, which means that just like the state supports a multicultural services program, an LGBTQ center, they are a disability resource center, they are also supporting our neurodiversity program.
Right. And one of the questions I've seen it pop up a couple times, are the majority of the students, are they living on site or are they commuting? What's the population like with that?
So more and more of them are starting to live on site. My recommendation is that they come to campus during their second quarter if they want to. We are a community college, and so most of the students live in the community, although because of our national and now international reputation, we do have students coming from far away. We have international students who come to the college for this program. So those people, of course, are living on campus. But I would say it's still the majority are living at home. I put the link that I put down. We're in near Seattle. We're located. I put a link in here for some videos that are videos more about our program, but also at the very bottom, I saw one question was, how do you figure out what college is good for your student? And there's a video at the very bottom of that page that addresses just that question.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. We'll come back to you. I'll have a follow-up question here in a little bit.
You want to know what's unique about my program? Is that going to be your follow-up question?
No, but it's going to be similar.
Because I do want to answer that question.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then.
Okay. Because the unique thing about this program, and I'm going to stop sharing to talk about this. The unique thing about this program is that unlike most or maybe all of the other programs that I've seen, we do not teach social skills. We are not attempting to get our students to fit into this neurotypical mold of how other people act. Instead, we are teaching social interaction and self-advocacy. So we support our students in finding their strengths in social interaction. What is their preferred form of social interaction? What do they feel comfortable with already? What are they good at? What barriers are they experiencing in social interaction? Is it sensory? Is it processing speed? Is it a literal use of language that doesn't match up with their peers? Michelle, parent Michelle, you were talking earlier about how the English language is pretty confusing sometimes. And then we talk about how to advocate for that with their peers, which is something that I, as an autistic adult, advocate for all the time about communication differences. And I teach this to corporations for new hires and for interviewers, how communication is different and how to bridge that gap without expecting the autistic person to change their social skills and interaction style. So that is a huge difference. We're using a social justice model where we attempt to remove barriers, not attempt to fix the person.
Great, thank you. All right, and like I said, we'll come back for a follow-up question, but I would love for Michelle Elkins at Western Kentucky University to talk a little bit about her program. And so everybody can see some similarities or differences that might be there. So, Michelle?
Unmute, that's first. I really find it interesting to talk about our programs and the way we are all trying to get to the same thing and doing some similar things just in different ways. And so I always find that interesting to listen and learn about other people's programs. With our particular program, it's basically 6 components. And I'll go over those really quickly because I know that we're limited on time. Number 1 is an optional part of the program, and that's that our students can receive an individual room, an individual dorm room, residence hall, we'll use the right terms, at the same cost. It's an agreement we have with our housing and residence life where they can receive that room at the same cost of having a roommate. Do they have to choose that? Absolutely not. As Sara was indicating, these are individuals. These are adult people and individuals, and they can choose whether they want a roommate, whether they prefer not to. If they are someone who realizes, you know what, I need that extra time at night alone to recharge my social battery, to get ready to go out into the day, they may choose that, they may not. We also have some apartments that are available once our students have progressed into a junior status, a 60-hour status, where they could choose to start learning to transition into an apartment and therefore into their own apartments later on to learn those skills. So we offer that. Number 2 are what we call study tables. You can call that anything you want, but during that time, it's a dedicated time for our students to be here within our building to study, during that time, many of our students do not need academic support. Some do, some do not. Again, these are individuals. So they could come here to say, you know what, I need to communicate with this professor, and I'm a little bit concerned about how my communication style may come off. Could you help me with that? Could you read that? Could you help me with some executive functioning? I may not be able to prioritize. So we have students here, peer models, peer students, mentors, tutors, whatever, however you would want to refer to that, who are here to help them along with our full-time staff. That is scheduled for them. With our freshmen, of course, we pretty much want them to be here that entire 12 hours that we schedule them. But we're hopeful by the time they get to seniors, they don't need that as much anymore. We want them to transition away from needing those services and having to be here quite so often. But that doesn't mean that service can go away for them. You know, if they just want to drop in for something on an as needed basis. Everybody knows there's going to be one class that you're an ace at and one you might need some assistance in. So that's always here offered to them. Number 3, and when I recently was able to do a program evaluation, which was very helpful to me. So the number 3 thing on your list is what we call CAP advisors, not to be confused with your academic advisor, somebody who's going to tell you the classes to take and those kind of things. This is somebody who these students develop a real personal relationship with, almost like a coach, for lack of a better word. And that was voted by our students in the year I did the full program evaluation as their number one thing. That was what was helpful to them, is having that individual time with somebody who they developed a real close relationship with, to be able to talk to them maybe about their Blackboard, their classes, but also anything social, anything that's going on with them. They meet with them at least once a week. And again, it's student-led, student-driven. So it could be, they could meet even more than that. But I like for it to be at least once a week to go over the things that they are needing. Number three, and I think every program has this, or it seems like, and I'm so glad that they do, is a mentoring program, a peer mentoring program. Those peer mentors they may be tutors also, but they may not be. They may be just someone on campus who have said, you know what, this is important to me, and I want to help a student to get acclimated to this campus. That can look different depending on the student, but so it could be a one-on-one peer mentoring program, peer mentoring part, and then we also have that also offered as a group, where they may go to a game night here on campus, or we have one group that meets at the gym. So it's really just to have somebody who is experienced on this campus to help them get acclimated and find their spot, because all of us know that when you're connected to a campus, you are more likely to stay there when you feel like you belong and you have a place to belong in a community. So that is the main role of our mentoring program. We also offer socials, at least 4 to 5 per month. Again, they're not required to attend those socials. It's something to help, hopefully, our students to build community within their program, but also they can bring others to the program. So it's not just our community. It is WKU, Bowling Green, Kentucky community as a whole. So we offer those socials. And the way we handle it is each one of the full-time staff plans one a month. And that way we all have our differences. We all have things we like. And so there are many different offerings available. And hopefully the students are able to find something that they enjoy and that they would like to attend, to help, again, build that community and build that connection. And then I think the thing that's kind of different about us is our counseling program. We do have a mental health counselor full-time on staff who only works with our students. That's something that we found that was very important to them. So we wanted to be able to offer that, and we're thrilled that we are able to offer that. So that counselor is here within our building, and he generally sees anywhere from 30% to half of our students. It really just depends on the current student needs at that time. So that's kind of our 6 components. As Sara said, we don't directly work on social skills. We don't have a social skills class or anything like that, but we do hopefully help them to be able to self-advocate, communicate with peers, communicate with those who they need to, build those soft skills for vocational reasons in a very natural, safe environment. That's what we don't want to change our students either, but we want them to also be able to acclimate and have others be able to self-advocate and say, this is why I may have spoke that way, those kind of things. I think for them to be able to do that is very important. So we do not offer social skills directly, but we do try to help them in a very natural, safe environment. As far as cost goes, I know that was one of the questions. We do have a cost associated with our program. We do have 6 full-time employees here, along with our tutors, peer mentors. It is a $5,000 per semester cost, in addition to tuition and other fees that you would have on campus. The very wonderful thing about that, though, is about 88 to 90% of our students are paid for through their local or through their state's vocational rehabilitation services within their area. So right now we have students from 15 states, and I believe there are only 3 who are not necessarily supporting that currently. So that fee has been paid for and picked up for that family. So it doesn't make it quite so, that can be very costly. I wouldn't tell you it's not, but when you are able to advocate with your state vocational rehabilitation services, they have been extremely supportive. And anytime we get somebody from a new state, I do always become a vendor with that state for that family, because they won't be the only one, hopefully, from that state. So we do try to become a vendor to hopefully help with that process for the parents as they are advocating for that to be paid for. And it currently, and I'm not an expert on vocational rehabilitation, do not claim to be, but currently our program is considered an accommodation. And so that's kind of how that is written in for them. And we've had very good luck with getting that taken care of for our students and our families. Lauren, I know I'm missing something that
There's just the qualifications. What do students need to do to make sure they qualify for your program?
Currently, our qualifications are, we do require a 20 ACT. However, Western Kentucky University has recently said they're not going to require ACTs for admittance. So we're adjusting that a little bit. I have not had a student come to me yet and say I did not take the ACT. Most students are still taking that, which is great because we have something to look at. But we also have, if they did not take the ACT, there are 3 entrance exams that Western offers. So we're taking equivalent scores to that. That's for initial admittance. However, we do interviews. So our students potential students fill out what we call just an informational packet about them, the way they see themselves. And I want it filled out by them so that we know, how do we see ourselves? And we have an interview process. And during that interview process, we're trying to get at exactly what Sara was saying, motivation. I love that you use the word want, because who wants it? Who wants this? Do you want that for you? Or is this something mom and dad are wanting? Is it a combination of both? Because it absolutely can be a combination of both, but trying to figure out whether this is an internal, external motivation, who's wanting that? Because we all know if a young person does not want that for themselves, we can't give them that. I wish I had that magic wand, but it doesn't exist. So that interview is mainly spent trying to say, these are the 6 things that we offer. What do you see as your needs? Does what we offer match your personal needs? Not so much, hey, I don't want you. It's not about that. Is what we offer a match for the things that you need individually? And can we each give and take a little bit? And anytime I'm sitting in front of a student, I'm looking at them and saying, can I support you to graduation, to your goal? And would you feel comfortable being here and being supported? I mean, it's a two-way street. So that's kind of how we decide who's coming and who might need to choose another program. And thankfully there are other choices, and we help guide them that way if we feel like this is too much support or not enough support, all of those things.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to now, I do have follow-up questions for you too, but I'm going to move on to Michele Metsch right now, talk about her perspective, her journey, and what that's looked like so far. And then Spenser, we'll talk to you after Michele. So.
Great, thanks, Lauren. So you gave my brief introduction. So I have 3 children, a current senior in high school, a freshman in high school, and a 6th grader. So we are, knee deep or even neck deep in the college application process. We just hit submit on our first bunch of applications over the weekend. I say we because it's definitely been a family endeavor. So my 17-year-old is autistic. He is in general education classes supported by special education teachers and staff. So our process for us in the college search is really about finding the environment that he's going to thrive in. That he's going to get academically what he's looking for, which is information technology or information systems as a major, for it to be an environment that feels comfortable to him and a place where he can find like-minded people to socialize with and talk about all things computers with, because that's what he loves. And ultimately a place that's going to help him reach his and our goal for him, which is to have an independent, fulfilling life and be a contributor to his community. And college is certainly one step towards that goal. And we've really been following his lead. A few years ago, I wasn't sure that we'd be at a place now his senior year that we were looking at a 4-year college. We always wanted to set him up for success and not just push him along a predetermined trajectory, that we decided, but that he really needed to come to it in order for it to be successful. And last January, he said, people are talking about the ACTs or people are talking about college. I guess we should start to think about that. And we said, oh, okay, we're ready. Let's do it. And we've done it. And although his transitions are extremely anxiety provoking for him, we are taking it one step at a time. And we've assured him that our job as his parents is to help him meet his goals at his pace, and he has admittedly said he's never going to take a leap on his own, that he needs our support to kind of make a change and do the next transition. And so, it's kind of one step forward, 2 steps back. We're easing into it, and finding our way as we go through the process.
So when it comes to finding a program that supports him, what are you really looking for in that program?
Yeah, so we are looking, I mean, he had pretty clear his requirements, which was the area of study that he's looking for and the radius from home. Because for him, he feels like if he is a comfortable distance away from home, he is more likely to then engage in college. Like, so that's kind of like the first level of anxiety. So he wants to be within like a 2-hour driving distance of home. So within a 2-hour driving distance of home and the major he was looking for and a college that, you know, he could potentially get into, right, limited our focus. And we were also looking for full autism support programs. And by that, we mean he's going to need some executive functioning support to manage the classes. It's not like high school, right, where you just go from class 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You know, your day is very structured. So he's going to need some support with managing the assignments and the structure of college. And he's certainly going to need support with, I think you both mentioned about the communication and kind of the soft skills of self-advocating with professors, making sure they understand his particular needs and how he can be successful in a class, and also the social piece. Because one of our concerns is that he goes to class. I'm not concerned academically. I know he can meet the demands of college academically, but that he would just kind of go to class and go back to his dorm room rather than fully participating in campus life in a way that's meaningful to him. It's that's going to look different for each student, but in some way that's meaningful. And so he might need support in that area as well.
So for the other parents out there, when you're looking at a school, how do you even go about finding a college autism program?
I have to say it's definitely challenging. So we did hire a private college counselor who specializes in students with academic and emotional and social needs. And that being said, this landscape is constantly changing, right? So it's not like she knew all of the programs. So it was a lot of internet searching and finding lots of different lists about programs for students with disabilities, autism specifically, other disabilities, and cross-referencing all of those lists, and then diving into all the college websites, and then narrowing, you know, as we keep like narrowing down layers, then campus tours, either virtual or in person, and then speaking with the autism support programs. And even then, I have to say, it's a little bit of a guess between what on paper is offered and what that's actually going to look like when you show up. It's a little bit of a leap of faith. And so fortunately, there's lots of like Facebook groups for parents of students with disabilities that you can get a little bit of information from parents that might have been there. I'm still in that process of like that next step of trying to find someone at each of these colleges that we applied to see if I can get more kind of firsthand information about what it actually looks like in the programs.
And Michelle, do you have any advice for other families that are currently going through the similar situation? Any words of wisdom?
Sure. I mean, that I think that we kind of live by, which is, you know your child, get to know your child and what their strengths are, what their challenges, their specific challenges are, and what they want to get out of their life. You know, and keep that ultimate goal in mind. Like I said, what our goal is for our son, which is his goal too, you know, to live independently, to have a successful career in his mode of study, to be fulfilled in his life, right? So that's what we always have on the back of our head. And then to make steps towards that goal. And that to know, I think it's so important for us parents to know that it's not going to be a straight path necessarily to that goal, that there's going to be twists and turns. It's not going to be exactly like we plan or expect. And to know that there are going to be bumps. We aren't going to get it right all the time. Like even all this planning for college, it's not like necessarily, you know, next September he's going to go and 4 years later he's going to graduate and everything's going to have gone perfectly. Like I imagine that that's the way, that would be wonderful if that's the way it turned out, but that we have to be open to taking it one step at a time and evaluate what you have in front of you and work as a team with your child. We could have planned this out on our own as his parents, but we wouldn't have gotten anywhere if he wasn't part of the conversation. And we're doing it as a team.
Well, great. No, I think that's some great advice. And if anybody that's a family member out there that has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we'll make sure to address them at the end of this webinar. So next, I'd like to talk to Spenser. And Spenser, we talked about how he's now a graduate student. And so Spenser, can you talk a little bit about your journey and attending Western Kentucky University? Some of the things that you did, some of the things that you didn't do, and we'll go from there.
Yes. When I was initially looking at Western Kentucky, looking for a college, I was looking for looking essentially for how close it is to where I lived, because I felt that I needed my family as my support group. I do have friends outside of my family, but I don't keep up with their haven't kept up with their lives much past high school. I have to admit that. So, and when my mom went to visit the Kelly Autism program at Western at orientation day, I felt like I wanted to get as far as possible as I could by myself, independently. I feel like I was trying to prove something to myself, and looking back, I feel like I should have had it in place from the beginning. I started working with the Kelly Autism program in my junior year and moved to campus in the second half of my junior year, or my first half in my senior year. I can't remember which at the moment.
It's okay.
As for let's see, I'm trying to remember. As for how the program helped me with my job search, I have to be honest, it really didn't, because I was taking my history degree. I was going for my history degree, and I didn't want to teach. So I really did it. So looking back, it didn't naturally flow into a career path because of that. So looking back, I feel like I should have taken a minor in business or accounting or some sort of computer sciences minor. And let's see.
Now, Spenser, you mentioned that you didn't really participate in anything until your junior year. Did you disclose to your college that you were on the spectrum?
Yes, I did. And I did disclose it, but I don't think I took advantage of that until my junior year, until the first of my junior year. Like I said, I felt like I was trying to prove to myself I could do this independently. But when I did, as for what made it successful, being able to have a job on campus at the Kentucky Museum helped a lot. Being in marching band kept me busy, and meeting with my mentor on a weekly basis in the Kelly Autism program was very helpful. Like Michelle Elkins said, we did socials for lunch, meeting together for lunch or dinner on a weekly basis, and they helped me figure out how to organize and prioritize my studies and my hobbies outside of school, which kind of overlapped with what I was getting my degrees in. I'm a big reader. I like reading about history, philosophy, and theology, and play strategy video games. So I felt that it kind of molded together. Of course, initially my professional goals, I thought I was going to be a historian, but then I realized I really didn't want to teach because I felt like I wouldn't be very good at it. And so I decided maybe I could go. So after I graduated, maybe I could go into to working in either libraries or museums. And I learned that you needed a graduate degree, a master's, and that has been approved by the American Library Association, ALA. So that's why I'm taking classes, online classes for my master's I'm taking classes online for my graduate studies with University of Kentucky.
And are you part of an autism program with the University of Kentucky?
Partially, yes, but it was mostly so that I can have that support group open up if I need it, which I think is an essential thing in order to have just in order to have it before I need it.
And Spenser, thank you for sharing.
There were some questions.
I have a follow-up question for you. Can you dive a little bit deeper into your journey since graduating and what that has looked like with employment and work, and even this past weekend for you? I would love for you to share that if you're comfortable.
Like Miss Michele Metsch said, it wasn't a straight line. I took a lot of part-time jobs in between then and now, and I still do have a part-time job, but could you restate the question? I lost my train of thought. Terribly.
No, it's okay. I would like for you to share your work history a little bit and share what you've been doing over this past summer, about how it ties into your degrees.
Well, I've been working as an off-site apprentice, then intern with the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum in New York City. So I've been able to get a better look at at how museums work internally, as well as how they put things together, which was absolutely, it's been a joy working with the Guggenheim Museum. So, and it's been tying into my classes with library sciences and information sciences, in that who they work with and who they're working with in tandem with their own collections, and and I'm trying to think where I was going with this.
It's okay. Do you mind if I share? So Spenser has also been doing this apprenticeship virtually, and just this past week, he's been able to meet he went to New York City to go meet everyone at the Guggenheim. So I've been following his journey through social media, which has been really neat to see, but everybody got to meet. And can you talk a little bit about that and how that was, meeting everybody in person finally?
It was an absolute joy, and being able to go inside the Guggenheim Museum, which I did research about for the museum, so putting together information for any teachers that came in with any classes or students to, kind of give them an outline to work with when they came into the museum, if they were, putting the spotlight on certain artists and their works while they taught their classes. And going back to going to employment, I think that you need to remember not to always follow your path. That you need to have what one might call marketable skills. Like I said, accounting, or I feel like I should have minored in something like business or accounting in order to give myself a step up in that towards employment. Give myself a step up towards that my goals of employment. So like it hasn't been a straight path. It's been a twisting and turning path, and just learning along the way. So
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you. And we have so many questions for everyone. I've seen this question come through quite a bit, and I want to touch and thank you, Spenser. I want to touch on to Sara and Michelle Elkins quickly. What is the average age range for your students? And is there a max age for your program? And also for both of you to answer, what types of degrees are the students obtaining in your programs?
So I can start. Michelle and I both answered this in the chat. We don't have age limits, upper age limits. I know our college starts at age 16 through high school in the college. Our college has associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. So a student can come to our college and transfer to another college. We have transfer agreements with many different universities, so they can transfer into a four-year school as a junior, but they also can stay at our school and get a bachelor's degree in many different areas, and they do. So a bachelor in computer science, a bachelor in interior design, a nursing degree, and many, many more. So we have a lot of those degrees as well. Probably not as many as a full-on university has, but a good selection.
And Michelle, for those who didn't read the chat box like as I did.
Well, as Sara said, we do not have an upward limit. If you ask the average, of course, our average are going to be that your typical age college student. But I just accepted this week a young lady who has been attending our local community college, and she's 30. So she waited a little while to start for her to be ready and be ready to handle the rigors of college. So she's 30 and now transferring to the university to finish her bachelor's. Our local community college, I'm not sure that they have as many options as Bellevue does, it sounds like, for bachelor degrees. So most of them get an associate's and then transfer. But of course, our college does offer, this particular university does offer many bachelor, master's, and doctoral degrees here within, and our students, it's a wide variety. We do have a lot of your CIS degrees, but we have the educators, we have interior designers, we have engineers, there's a wide variety, and we believe our students can do anything they want to do. So there are lots and lots of different majors, but we do have some concentrated areas. We have several people who are going to be engineers and several who are looking at that computer science, but we have teachers and nursing students, and the wide gamut of degrees offered.
Great, thank you. And then for both of you, one last question. How do you evaluate the success of your program? How do you know it's been a successful year, and what really are the standards that you hold true?
Do you want to go first, Michelle?
And I will piggyback off of what you say.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why you wanted to go first. Ha ha. Okay, so we do collect our grade point averages. We do collect our, class completion, retention, things like that. We also do surveys of the students as all faculty get, their class surveys. How did the students enjoy the classes? What were the grades in the classes? Those are consistently very highly graded. We do a survey at the end of each quarter with the students about the program. What did they like? What did they not like? What do they want to improve? So we are constantly, it sounds like Michelle's also doing this, like changing the program according to what the students want. We also survey the parents. And so a success to us is that our students are growing and learning the things that they need to learn to be successful in college, to be involved in college, and then move on to that career and make friendships and do the things that they want to do.
See, I told you I get to piggyback right off of you all. We do all of those things also, doing those end of the year quality assurance surveys. How are you feeling about it? We also will offer for some of our students, and all can attend, but some do not, that face-to-face, let's sit down and talk about it. What's helpful to you? What's not helpful to you? What do you need? And honestly, that changes at all times. You have to be able to be flexible to make sure that you're offering to these students what they need. And as she said, the way I truly measure is, are the students growing? GPAs can be down, things like that can happen because there's a lot that can happen, but are they growing? Are they meeting their own personal goals? Are we supporting them to meet the goals that they want to meet? And do they feel like they're being supported? And that's when, and we also talk with the parents too. Do the parents feel that their students being supported? What do they need? But I find a lot that what the parents think is support and what the students think are support are two different things. So really evaluating that and finding out what do they need to meet their goals. So I agree with everything you said. We do all of those things formally, but I think that informal conversation and watching the student and knowing they're feeling supported is how I truly, at the end of the day, say, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes,
Thank you.
good point. Lauren, can we answer the question from the Q&A about navigating job interviews?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I will kick it off. I think it's a really important topic to discuss because a lot of people think that they can't ask for accommodations in a job interview. And so you can, and you can ask for them without disclosing a disability. So there's two different ways to ask for them. You can contact the human resources of the department of the place where you're applying, and they will likely ask you to disclose your disability, which is fine because they can't tell the people you're interviewing with what your disability is. They can just give you the accommodation. Common accommodations that you can ask for, though, without disclosing a disability are you can ask for captions to be turned on if it's a virtual interview. You can ask for this ahead of time. You can say, could you please have captions in the interview? You can ask for the interview questions to be provided to you in writing. You can ask for them to be provided to you 10 minutes prior to the interview in writing, which is really, really helpful to most people and doesn't give you any kind of leg up. These are actually standard accommodations that should be given to everyone, not just autistic or disabled people. You can also say things like, I'm the type of person who needs to see what you're saying in writing. So would you mind just giving me a sheet of paper with these questions? If they don't want to send them ahead of time, that's fine. They can give them to you in person. And then also bringing your device or paper with you so you can have your things written down. I noticed Spenser uses a very good technique. He's got things written down and he's looking at them, and that's what we need to do. But ask for that. Make sure you have gotten that approved. You don't need to say I'm autistic. A lot of people don't know what that means anyway. So just say what you need and get that pre-approved.
No, thank you. That's a great question. Spencer, I have a quick question for you. Do you have any advice for anybody who's currently looking at colleges or universities of things to look for, or suggestions that you might have for them, as someone who's gone through undergrad?
Really look at degree programs that find something that that can fulfill one of your interests, but also leads to career paths. And also, let's see. Like I said earlier, don't be afraid to ask for help or accommodations. Be proactive in that. Don't be afraid to ask for it. And I feel like sometimes I feel like I should have joined CAP in my freshman year. And be sure not to wait on it until you're in trouble. Have that as a safety net, so to speak. Did they also say what to look for in these kinds of programs?
If you have any advice for that, yeah. If not, that's okay too.
Thank you.
All right. And Michelle, thank you, Spencer. And Michele Metsch, what do you think post-secondary institutions can do to be more inclusive for students with autism?
Well, I think colleges and universities have made a lot of strides in being more accessible places in general, right, to all different types of students. And so I'd like that to continue. You know, as a parent of an autistic person, you know, we spent the early part of his life, you know, trying to help him fit in better places, right? And now, as he's grown up and I've grown up and evolved my thinking, and I'm working towards in my community and the camp that I work with, right, how to make spaces more inclusive and accepting for everyone, right, rather than having the person like, I think both Sara and Michelle spoke about this also, right, like having the students come as who they are, right, rather than having to change themselves for the environment. So I think for colleges and universities to keep doing that, to know that they have a full range of people coming into their universities, right, and how to meet everybody for who they are and where they are. I think also making these programs more accessible because, right, some are the fee-based programs and they are a big additional expense, right, that many people can't afford. So finding ways to fund the programs to make them more accessible and communicating about the programs. For some universities, it can be very challenging to find their disability services on their websites. Some put them right out in the open. And obviously for me, that's a signal like that's a place that I want to look further into when they put it front and center in their marketing materials. But for some, it's really challenging to find the support, even if they have it. So I would want the universities to put it more at the front of what they're doing and make it readily available to families.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you to all of the panelists. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this information and valuable experience that you've had firsthand. So thank you to the audience for joining us today. And we will be in touch. If you have questions that were not answered, we will be in touch to answer those for you. But thank you all for joining us and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.